What's up, guys? Welcome into Verts. I'm Harrison Graham. Not in our typical studio, but today we're going to go through some college football playoff contenders and pretenders. We're entering the month of November. New 12-team playoff system. A lot of teams still in the mix. I'm not going to go through every team. Like Oregon's clearly a contender. I think Ohio State's a contender. Georgia. Not going to talk about those teams and some other teams that I think have fallen kind of out of it. But I think I got 11 teams here that I want to discuss. So let's go ahead and dive on in. Let's start with the Texas Longhorns because they were on cruise control the first several weeks of the season. And then last week they kind of get humbled at home by Georgia. This week, they kind of skate by Vanderbilt. That game shouldn't have been as close as it was. Like, do they lack a killer instinct? I'm not sure. I still think they're a contender because they have a good offensive play caller and head coach in Steve Sarkisian. Their defense is better than it's been in recent years. And even though he's been a little shaky recently, I still think Quinn Ewers, with his experience and big game experience, is good enough for them to make a run. I'll say this, though. If he plays like he has since suffering the injury the last two games, this version of Quinn Ewers in Texas will not go deep in the playoffs. They maybe win a game, but they're going to have to get back to what they were doing earlier in the year. I still have them in the contender status. How about their arch rivals, the Texas A&M Aggies? I think you got to make them a contender. Mike Elko has that defense flying around. They had Garrett Nussmeier on his heels the entire second half last night, and they made the smart call. Let's go to Marcel Reed, bench Connor Wegman, and if Marcel Reed can just be competent as a thrower, clearly that zone read offense is putting defenses on their heels when he can run the football like that. Talk about LSU in a second, but man, that was a tough look for them. I think they're in the contender status. Now, over games, can Reed do enough as a thrower to make them a true national title contender? We'll see. But I view them as a team that could make the playoff and win a game right now. And if you can do that, you're absolutely a contender. I'm going to make Penn State a pretender. I know they're unbeaten. I know it's looked good at times, but their schedule's been soft. I'm still not a Drew Aller believer. He's clearly improved compared to last year, but I want to see what happens this week. They play Ohio State at home. This is the best chance James Franklin has had to beat an Ohio State or a Michigan in a high-leverage game in a while. Can he finally break through? You go beat the Buckeyes this week, I will shift my tune. I will take this Penn State team seriously. But if they lose at home and by double digits, which is typically what they do in this game, it's hard for me to believe. And based on their schedule up to this point, I just don't think they've been challenged that much. And you can't control your schedule, but when your schedule isn't that tough, I got to see it more with the eye test. I'm not buying yet. I'm just not buying Penn State. So we'll see where it goes from here. Subscribe to Verts, trying to get to 5,000 subscribers here on this channel. We cover the NFL and college football here on a daily basis. We'll be back tonight after Sunday Night Football with a full reaction to Week 8. Lots of good games today. Should be a lot of fun. More college football coverage as well. Trying to get to 5,000 subs ASAP. Support the channel. Hit that subscribe button. Okay, LSU, you got to drop them to the pretender area. Now, I do want to say this. Just because you're in the pretender category doesn't mean your season is over. They have 2 losses. If they were to run the table, I think they'd pretty clearly make the CFP. But I still can't shake that USC loss in Week 1. And last night, it seems like they're just rolling. Nussmeier throws an awful pick to start the second half. That coupled with the inability to just stop read option over and over and over again. LSU's defense for a few weeks, I think, kind of teased us like, oh, Brian Kelly's finally got this defense playing. They've turned a corner on that side. With Nussmeier in the offense, this team can contend. And then they just lay a total egg in the second half. 31 points allowed to Marcel Reed and A&M. Marcel Reed threw 2 passes in the second half, and they scored 31 points. I can't take that seriously. That's pretty unacceptable. All right, Indiana, America's favorite college football team right now. I'm going to go contender. And I thought this week was kind of a week like, okay, let's see what this team is all about, because they had just smoked Nebraska, but they lost their starting quarterback in that game. Their backup, who's actually the younger brother of Trace Jackson Davis, who plays for the Golden State Warriors, he goes in there. You're playing a Washington team that's pretty solid. Kind of felt like a classic letdown game. College game days there. They're honoring Lee Corso. It's like, is this too much for this program to handle? Nope, they beat them by 2 touchdowns. No problem whatsoever. They kind of remind me of TCU from 2 years ago. They just keep winning games. It's like you keep thinking they're going to lose, and there's another win, 8-0. Like, they're well coached. The guy coming in from JMU has just been awesome. I don't know how long he's going to be there. If you're Indiana, start lining up the pocket boosters because you're going to have to pay him a lot more money. But I wouldn't say they could win the whole thing based on what I've seen, but I think in the right scenario, they could win a playoff game. This is not a team you would want to play. Notre Dame, I'm still going to go pretender. Nice win over Navy. I think the easiest bet of the weekend was Notre Dame minus 14. Navy, it's a nice story. If you compare them and Army's actually been significantly better across the board. But like, you get into this game with Notre Dame, you just don't have the guys. Like, you're just not going to keep up. And I still look at Notre Dame, and I still have this question. If you can force Riley Leonard to stand in the pocket and throw the football, are you scared to play this team? To me, the answer is no. Now, if he goes out there in a high-leveraged spot and throws for 300, okay, cool. I haven't seen it, though. They lost to Northern Illinois, who's lost like 3 or 4 games now. Like, it's not like this is some 10-11 win Northern Illinois team in the making. So they're a pretender. That being said, if they win out, they're going to make the college football playoff. All right, BYU, contender. Listen, they kind of remind me of that TCU team a couple years ago as well in the Big 12. Just keep stacking wins, and let's face it, they got 2 really good wins. SMU, nice win, one of the better teams in the ACC, beat them out of conference. They've beaten Kansas State. They hammered Kansas State. And based on their schedule, they got a real shot to go 12-0. And if they're 12-0, they're probably a lock, even if they lose in the Big 12 championship game. So, again, they're in that contender category of they could win a playoff game. I'm not sure they could win the national championship, but this is kind of the year of parity in college football, which is why it's a great year to launch this 12-team playoff. Bama, pretender. Limited playmakers on offense. Defense is pretty average. I think Jalen Milroe, in some ways, has just not progressed enough as a passer. Like, he just has to get better, and he just force feeds Ryan Williams. Their offense is based on a 17-year-old wide receiver. I mean, that's just asking a lot. They don't run the ball as well as you would think. They're not as tough in the trenches as you would think. Now, I'm still a Kalen DeBoer guy. I think this team, over the course of time is going to be a force. I just look at them right now. Like, could I say with the straight face that they're going to make a run in the playoff? I don't even know if they're going to make the college football playoff, so I got to put them in the pretender category. That went over Missouri. Missouri's the biggest fraudulent team in the country. They might go 10-2. Go look at their schedule. They're not very good. Iowa State, contender, kind of like BYU, just finding ways to win. Rocco Beck, their quarterback, is really good. Go watch him play. He can run. He can throw. They've got a couple of nice playmakers. Defense is always good under Matt Campbell. Again, I don't view any of the Big 12 teams, if you wanted to throw K-State in there, as a team that could win a national championship. But I think in the right matchup, they could win a game or two in the playoff. And, Matt Campbell's been doing this for a while. Like, he's a good coach. So I got them in the contender category. Miami, contender. I get it. You're going to say, Harrison, you were critical of Penn State with their schedule. Well, if the schedule's soft, I want to see the eye test. My eye test tells me this. Cam Ward, one of the best quarterbacks in the country, if not the best. Xavier Restrepo, unbelievable receiver. Damian Martinez. That is the best quarterback, receiver, running back trio in college football. They could score 40 points on anyone. If you can do that, you're going to have a chance to win in just about every game. Would I pick them to win the national championship? No, but could they go on a run and make the semis or even the final potentially with that group? Yeah. They could also lose first round. Like, I could see them laying an egg, but they've got the ingredients offensively to challenge every team in college football. That makes them a contender. On the flip side, I thought Ole Miss had all the ingredients offensively to be a contender. They're a pretender. I watched most of that Ole Miss-Oklahoma game. Guys, Oklahoma stinks. They have injuries everywhere. And that game was a game until about 6 minutes left. Like, what is going on with Lane Kiffin's team? They lose to Kentucky, who has since fallen off a cliff. They blow the LSU game last week, or 2 weeks ago. Then LSU just got exposed. Again, they're still in the mix. They could make the playoff if they went out, but I don't view them as a serious contender at all. And coming into the year, it was like, this is the year they could make a run. They're kind of just same old Ole Miss. Good team, win 9-10 games, not a national championship contender. All right, there you have it. Some college football playoff contenders and pretenders. The first CFP rankings come out a week from Tuesday, so getting closer and closer to what this college football playoff committee thinks of this group of teams this year. My name is Harrison Graham. Subscribe to the channel. Enjoy your NFL Sunday. We'll have a reaction to all of it once Sunday Night Football concludes tonight.